For those of you keeping score, this is the 93rd episode of the Rocker Dog Podcast, the one and only show that talks to musicians about their canine companions to spread the good word about these invaluable creatures. I'm your host, Tim Dill. My invaluable creature is a doodle named Charlie, and today we're happy to bring you a terrific conversation with the hard-rocking couple, Richie Kotzen and Julia Lage, who both have active solo careers as well as other popular projects, Richie with the Winery Dogs and Julia with Vixen. And this is their latest bilingual rocker dog.
Well, we're talking to Rusty, a 2.5-year-old Doberman Pinscher. He's a rescue, and he's our first brown Doberman, and it's actually all natural ears, natural tail. Yeah. So, and he's a teenager, so we love him, but that's Rusty.
I love it. And I've noticed you guys this is your third Doberman, correct?
Yeah, it's my fourth.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was a kid, we had a Doberman, and the whole thing started. Julie, there's a lizard right there, and
there's a lizard. Rusty's gonna see the lizard pretty soon.
Crazy. A lizard came in the house and it's sunbathing by the piano.
It's okay.
Because we have the doors open.
Yeah.
And if he sees it, he's going to go crazy. So that'll be very entertaining.
A little massacre.
So the whole thing started when I was moving. My neighbor on my old street had a Doberman. And this is about, how many years ago? 10?
7 or 8
years ago. And he unfortunately passed away. But the dog, who was an older dog, a large Doberman, he went to the pound. And I was on the mailing list for the neighborhood. And they said, if someone could come get Zeus, that would be great, because they don't know how long they'll keep him there. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I remembered the dog, and we're already here in the new house remodeling. I still had the old house. I was going back and forth. I said, you know what? I'm going to go down there and get the dog. And she had a look of shock, because I always said, we travel too much. Can't really have a dog because we're not here enough.
Yeah.
And so we got Zeus, and he was an old Doberman. He was pretty beat up.
He was a German Doberman, so they're a little taller. They're actually bigger than the American Dobermans.
Okay.
But he stayed with us for less than a year, and then he passed away. Then we got Cheech. Then now we had Rusty. But Richie had one when you were your boy.
We had one in the 80s when I'm from Philadelphia area. So when the Phillies won the World Series, if I have this right, I think Tug McGraw was the pitcher, right? We named our dog after Tug.
And That's awesome.
And he was a sweet dog, a hunter. He liked to hunt.
All of them.
And they all seem to really like to hunt.
I did see a video of one of the dogs. I think this might be Cheech with a squirrel in his mouth.
No, that was Zeus.
That was Zeus, okay.
Squirrel in his mouth.
Zeus had the
squirrel. Dead one, right?
Yeah.
He was on a walk and just picked it up because I wasn't there, but I guess
I was
didn't notice.
Yeah. So Zeus did that. Cheech got a squirrel too once. I mean, it's just, their instinct. He saw the lizard just now, but he prefers the lap, I guess.
He prefers being on camera.
Dog. Yeah, he thinks he's a lap dog, which is funny.
Well, let's work backwards a little bit, starting with Zeus to Cheech to now with Rusty. The notes I have on Zeus, one of your posts described him as on drugs. Was he heavily medicated being that old?
As Richie said, Linus the Honor, he had a heart condition. So I think it got worse. And I think having a young Doberman in the house was hard for him. So they put him on, what was it, Xanax?
Well, like doggy Prozac.
To calm him down.
To chill him out.
So what happened was, after years on Prozac, doggy Prozac, whatever you want to call, he was he was an overdose watch. They were giving too much for him, I think.
Yeah.
And so when we got him, he looked like he was on drugs. He would stare at nothing and zero energy. It was very sad. And I thought he was just old. And then we didn't want to keep the drug. So we talked to a veterinarian, right?
Yeah.
And then slowly we weaned him out of it. and he flourished. He became a completely different dog, although he was already 10 and beat up because he was beat up or so.
Yeah.
He was playing with a pit bull. We took him to a dog park, and there was a young pit bull, and they were trying to run, and he kept falling down, but he became such a different dog. It was beautiful to see the last year of his life. He was not high on any sort of drugs, and he was just being a dog and having fun and hunting. So yeah, that's what happened with him.
Yeah, I love to hear a story like that, and I have to compliment you guys as dog owners because as I'll try to unfold, you guys do a lot of things right, and you do a lot of things where you kind of go a little bit beyond what the average person does to make sure a dog has a good chance and a great home and flourishes. So that said, what was the transition from Zeus, or what did Zeus pass away from? You said another post said suddenly.
He kind of, honey.
He did.
What did you say?
Well, he basically, we think he had either a heart attack or a stroke or something. It was very sunny. He was hunting. He was running after squirrels, and I found him, dead in the yard.
Driveway.
Yeah.
He must have probably ran after something and just kind of, gave up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, after having experience with Cheech having a heart condition, knowing that Zeus passed away so quickly, I felt actually it was great. At the time it was horrific because you're not expecting the dog is okay and now he's dead.
Yeah.
But now, experiencing all the suffering that it can also have, I was actually happy with the fact that he went fast because they don't deserve to suffer a single thing. All right, buddy.
Yeah. Nice butt, Rusty.
Come on.
So moving from Zeus to Cheech, how much time was between those two?
About a year and a half.
No, that was with Rusty. With Cheech was pretty quick.
With Zeus to Cheech was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zeus.
Okay.
Maybe
Not
few
too
months.
long. I was out of town. I was on tour. I was in Brazil.
He was in Brazil.
When Zeus died.
Yeah.
And then when I came home, I had a break in the tour, and that's when we got Cheech. Well, Cheech was a very different dog because Zeus was friendly with everybody and, other dogs, everything. It was really socialized. Where Cheech did not like other dogs. In the beginning, if he was laying down, you couldn't get near him because he'd be defensive. She broke him of all those behaviors. It was pretty impressive. By the end, he was a real loving dog, loved kids and everything.
Yeah.
How did you go about, and correct me if I'm wrong with what I've gathered, but you adopted him also as an older dog. I think he was like 7 years old when you...
We got him, he was around 5, so he
Okay.
stayed with us for 5 years, and then that was it. Like he died about 10, 11 years old.
And then he didn't have the best reputation. And I do some shelter work, so I understand that, we're supposed to take notes on the dogs to help inform, the public or the potential adopter. You mentioned he had negative notes. He had quite the reputation, and he was returned 3 different times to the kennel. You guys were his 4th chance.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
And
how did you
returned
go?
twice with the same family. Okay, buddy, time to go.
How did you go about selecting him or finding him or making him your project?
I'll tell you how. I went, when I was on the road, I'd go on the website out in Fillmore, which is about an hour's drive from where we live.
Yeah.
There's a no-kill shelter, Dobie Rescue, and they've got
Little paws, yeah.
They got a website with all their dogs. So there were 3 that I picked out that I liked the way they looked. A little superficial, I know, but I liked the look of the dog.
Well, that's the first start.
And the rap sheet was good, and so then I knew about the one that we ended up with. His name back then was Mr. Spock. Now we named him Cheech.
Yeah.
But I knew about him, but I figured, well, that dog has some problems, so we're not going to look at him. And each dog I went to look at, one was more aggressive than the next. Like I went up to the pen, one jumped up and was snarling, went to another pen, he was foaming, hair stand. I said, what the hell? So the one we got, which was Cheech, was all the way in the back, just sitting watching. So I said, why don't we see him anyway? I knew about him. So she brought him out.
He's doing his job.
I really liked him. I got teary-eyed because he reminded me of Zeus because he was similar build.
Rusty?
and we ended up taking him home.
Yeah.
But, you know, I got to say something very funny. She was away, and I took him locally to a place where they were going to do like a training. Everybody had their dogs there. Now, I knew that Cheech didn't like other dogs, but I didn't know to what degree. So I get him out of the car. I've got one of the choker collars, but the kind that are pressurized so that if you pull it, it's one they told me to get. So I had that one. I had a muzzle on him. And just in case things got too out of hand, I had a shock collar because I didn't know what was going to happen. So he comes off looking like, Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs.
But he loves people, right?
And he comes out and he sees the dog and he goes crazy. And I could barely control him. I'm holding him. He went after one dog that was actually facing the wrong direction, laying down. It was a big dog with a lot of hair. Went after that one. So the trainer comes over and says, bring him to the middle. So we have him in the middle. Now all the dogs are walking in a circle, and he was getting crazy. So finally the trainer says, you're going to have to leave. He's not ready for this. They told me that.
What happened was we decided to get him because when we met him, he was okay. He was fine. He was adorable. He was asking to be pet, all that cute stuff. So like, well, how bad can he be? And she told us about don't get close when he's sleeping, stuff like that. He might not like kids, whatever. And we're like, okay, don't like dogs. We got him home and he had a little few things that we wanted to work on. And then slowly, like he said, I broke a few habits. Like he became also a lap dog and he loved all the friends. He didn't like dogs at all. But so when we took him, he was with us for maybe a few weeks. So he also didn't know us. We didn't know him. So it was kind of something that we learned was kind of a mistake to bring him so early to the training like that. Because he was already 5. He had all this trauma. He's like, we have to give him time and space. So we learn with that as well, too. But he turned out to be an amazing dog, just didn't like other dogs, which is okay.
Well, that's common. And so was this more a case of acclimation? Like I know there's like this rule of 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, and that's 3 days to decompress from the kennel and 3 weeks to understand the layout of their new home, and then 3 months to finally settle in. But did you do anything special, or did you just kind of, give the dog a chance to acclimate?
We certainly learned that we had to acclimate him. So we did that. We tried one trainer and she helped us a little bit, but was very briefly. And then I learned that I had a good connection with him, and I learned that I could read him very well. And Dobermans are super expressive. And if you know how to read the dog, you know what's coming next. So I learned like he would be laying in his bed and he didn't want us to get close because he didn't know us. But I slowly will just pass through the bed and pat his head, good boy, and leave. Like give him space, but also let him know that it's okay to touch and nothing's going to work. Nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to take you away or whatever. So slowly that happened. And I don't know, it was more like an instinctive way to break all those bad habits. And he learned us and we learned him. And slowly he became a really incredible dog. I mean, can't say nothing bad about him at all.
So I get the notion that Cheech was kind of, you guys used the word chaos in a couple of posts. He kind of found trouble either with digging, or was he the dog that actually got in the wood pile? And I saw a cast on his paw for one post.
Oh, the cast was probably him too, and Rusty. Cheech would hunt like anything, everything, like every time, all the time. And he would dig a hole to the ocean if he could, the lava, because he would not stop. And he killed every kind of animal. We have a lot of animals around us, and so squirrels, like rabbits and stuff, like snakes. Oh my God. Which is something interesting to say too. We had to do a rattlesnake training with him because we do have a lot of rattlesnake around, and he worked incredibly. It paid off. He would eat snakes, like he would just bite them and break them in half. It was horrible. And finally, we took him to the training, and they trained them basically with a little zap. Dobermans are so smart. You barely have to zap. You just give a sound, they learn. Mm-hmm. So that paid off because one day I hear him barking so aggressive. I'm like, whoa, what is going on? I go down there There was a massive black rattlesnake, gorgeous though, but massive, just rolled like that and looking. And the dog had a great distance from it, and it was just barking and letting us know. So Richie came with the hose and yeah. So you just put the hose and the snake leaves, but
the snake didn't like getting wet.
but the dog did not got near the snake. I was like, good job. I have it filmed and everything because it was so impressive. I was like, wow, this really. So this guy here this weekend now is gonna be his first training too. So
Training specifically for the rattlesnake or training overall?
Saturday, right?
Specifically for rattlesnake because we have a lot in the area. And the other ones are usually garden snakes. They don't do much around here. They don't, not really poisonous.
Now, when Cheech passed, were you guys kind of in agreement that, you'd continue the course with another Doberman, or was there any discussion to mix it up? Or, Julie, I know you grew up with a bunch of different breed dogs.
Yeah, Rich also had, like, you had the German Shepherds.
We had a Puli, a Hungarian sheepdog, two German Shepherds, and an Irish setter. But, we took about a year and a half with no dog.
Yeah, it was very hard.
There was a lot of traveling and touring involved, and it was really difficult. The last days of Cheech were really, really intense.
Yeah.
He was really sick, and it was just really bad. But so I had a big year of touring last year, and so we decided.
Me too. Yeah, we're both gone.
And we decided that once all the shows were played out, that we would look, and it just so happened, we looked back on the website, where we got Cheech, and we saw a couple dogs again that were interesting. We went to Japan because I had a few shows there, and in my mind, was set on one dog in particular. And then when we got there, she said, well, we got this other dog. We're calling him Pluto. And it was this one.
It was Rusty.
And he came in right away, jumping around, licking our faces.
Sat in between us like
sat right between us. And I thought, well, this might be the dog, because the other one was a beautiful dog, but it was a bit aloof.
Right.
Not that means anything, because he doesn't know us. But somehow this one, when he came in, was so into being around us, and I suppose it could have been anybody coming in there who would have acted that way. But
I think that was.
But that kind of sold,
We liked the personality. It was very different. Yeah, it was like a happier, younger personality, and kisses. He liked kissing us, and Cheech would never ever give us a kiss, I thought it was interesting. He never tried to kiss, like lick us or anything. Yeah. And Rusty's the opposite. He's like, he will lick us. He would he's just so different, and we kind of fell in love with his personality. But we were looking at all sorts of dogs. I remember I wasn't ready for a long time, and I was looking here and there other places, and there's so many breeds, like there's so many Huskies. But then again, we followed the Dobie rescue that we rescue all the dogs, and we're like, oh, let's visit the Dobie rescue and see what happens.
We get a lot of sun here where we are specifically. A long-haired dog sitting outside, and
I could see that.
Trying to say it didn't seem like whatever dog we would get here where we live, it probably would have been something with short hair.
Although obviously our dog doesn't sleep outside, doesn't live outside, he stays in. Yeah. But I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know, certain dogs should be in a snowy environment, and that's it.
Yeah. Now, was Cheech or Zeus ears cropped or tail?
Yeah. They were both. They were not organic.
Yeah, organic. Right. They're not natural.
Docked tail, cropped ears.
They were.
Both of them. This one, natural ears, natural tail.
Yeah. Which is interesting. We learned a lot about that because, of course, the ears, we thought Rusty would be way easier with his floppy ears because we have foxtail around us. And
explain what that is.
If you don't know what foxtail is it almost look like a wheat. The wheat.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, but it's a plant, and if it goes inside your ear or mouth or even the paw, it keeps going in and doesn't come out. It's a disaster.
When it dries, it's really dangerous. So twice we had to rush the other dog to the vet to have the thing taken out. You know, he's walking sideways.
Because that thing can continuously going in. It can hit the brain. It can hit the heart. It's a disaster. It's very bad.
So our attitude was, well, if we have the option to get a dog, we see one that likes us, that has
floppy
natural ears, it'll be covered, you know, when he goes out. Well, what we didn't know is that in a weird way, the other ear style, the cropped ear, is actually better to avoid a problem, because when Rusty starts going out there and getting crazy, the ears tend to flip over and they lay wide open. So nothing protecting from stuff to get inside. And we didn't know that. So I told her, when all the brush dies, we're going to have to get him some kind of a little beanie and strap it on his head to keep his ears so nothing can get in there, because he's going to want to run around and go digging around.
And he hunts. And the minute he run 1, 2, boom, 1 ear is already up. It's like, oh my God. But the tail, I'm going to say, I know people, it's a little controversial, you know, but I feel like the tail, if he was cropped in a young age where, you know, I don't know, maybe it's easier. I think he has to be young anyways. I noticed because he hits everything with his tail, like badly, like to a point that I know a bunch of dogs break their tail a lot of times. And he hits so strong and he's excited and he's saying hi. And then, you know, there's a table, there's the wall, there's things. So the tail, I love looking at the tail. It's adorable. But he hit us, he hits all the time his tail. So I feel sometimes I have to touch his tail to see if it's okay, because he really, right?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I like, you know, if I had a puppy Doberman, I wouldn't cut the tail and I wouldn't dock the ears, just because, for whatever my reasoning. But I do understand why they do it. And there are some arguments to be made, especially for the tail.
Yeah.
You know, I understand why you see the Doberman like that, but we're rescuing dogs. So, you know, whatever condition the dog is in, that's the condition he's in. So if somebody cropped his ears and the dog needs a home and we're looking for one, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's our experience between the two, because now we've had both.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I don't know that answer. And there were some commenters on your post that, you know, people voicing their opinion, you know, seems to be to leave it as is. And I know at the shelter, what we call happy tail is the dogs that whack their tails on the fencing and on the sides, and it's, you know, they'll either injure it or, you know, it'll be scabbed over. So, but the funny thing is, I love the tail because the tail's so expressive.
I love it.
You know, it's their mood ring. You know. Yeah,
and you hear it, like you were walking towards him and you hear.
Yeah, bam, bam, bam.
The floor. I was like, okay. But that's hurting too, I bet. It's adorable, though. It is, for sure.
I love it. Well, I wrap up every show with what I call the Zoomies. And the Zoomies are 5 fast, mostly frivolous questions. The first one being the most frivolous. But number 1 is, do you kiss your dogs on the mouth?
Sometimes. You do?
That's the right answer.
He kisses us, though.
He'll get a lick in here and then. I do...
in the nose.
Kiss his snout.
He calls him snout.
Yeah, his snout.
Okay, good to hear.
My tongue stays in the mouth.
Yeah, of course. There's only been a few guests that have copped to, you know, having their tongue reach the dog.
Yikes.
But I'm a proponent of kissing the dog, but not with the tongue.
Yeah. No. No.
All right, question 2 is, do any of your dogs, did they ever have a theme song? Did they have a song that you guys kind of assigned to them or reminded you of them? Or you can imagine if they were a baseball player, what would their walk up to the plate music be that kind of, you know, nails down who they are?
We don't have one, but, you know, last week I woke up in a crazy mood and I was singing a song and I had all kinds of crazy lyrics
for him,
for Rusty. And I mean, I had something in there about him filing tax returns. I mean, it was a crazy song and it was a great song, and I forgot it and I didn't get my recorder to remember it. And then a few days later, I kind of remembered it. And so I have to go back. So I might be able to write and record a song for Rusty. So he has a theme song.
I had a song that I wrote, is only a verse and a chorus. I wrote for a dog that passed away when it was my dog in Brazil. And when I moved to America, he stayed. And when he died, I was not expecting, it was horrible for me. So I did that too. And then when Cheech passed away, I made this little reel with a lot of videos of him being adorable, and I put Claire de Lune, Debussy. And that song, every time he plays, I start crying. It's just horrible. But that reminds me of Cheech. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, question 3, as musicians, you get the opportunities to be endorsed by, your bass strings, your guitar strings, your guitars, your amps. If the dog was to be endorsed by anybody, who would they be endorsed by?
Well, I don't know, but actually the other day, this brand reached out to me and they told me they'll be sending a bunch of stuff if I, just take photos with Rusty and their products. And it was bandanas and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like Rusty is like a teenager. Anybody?
Food endorsement would be great.
Does he have expensive taste? Is he eating a lot? The term is he eating bougie food?
Well, you know what he eats that he gives us big headache? Leather. We have to open him up. We have to open him up, having him for 3 weeks. We had a major surgery on him on Christmas because he had eaten a piece of leather belt before we adopted him. And it was about to kill him, and we didn't know.
Oh my gosh.
So, and he ate more leather.
He's a very expensive dog.
Yeah, he's been very expensive.
Out of the gate, he was expensive. I tried to rationalize the finances of it because I realized, I would have been in at least for $3,500 if I would have bought a puppy.
I don't even know. Yeah.
So, we're over double now on him because the surgery was just, he would have died. They had to open, he's got a scar goes all the way down, and there was no guarantees that he was going to make it. It was 50-50.
Yeah.
And Christmas, it was really rough.
Oh, it
but
was horrible.
He came out of it. Thank God. Yeah. He came out.
Was that just this past Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
For about 2 weeks, and all of a sudden it was like
he got
started
sick,
throwing up. He wasn't holding his food down. He was getting skinny, and something's wrong. So we took him in. They X-rayed him. They said there's something blocking. Give it a day or two. If that doesn't move, you're going to have to do a surgery.
Yeah.
It didn't move, and then we did the surgery.
it was very horrible.
Yeah, I've had 2 friends with the dog eating the toy and taking the plastic squeaker and eating that thing, and then the exact same surgery. They had the surgery, and it was like, well, it's it's up in the air whether they'll make it or not. Happy to report both of them have made it and continue to torture their parents.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, question 4 is: do you have a dog voice?
Oh God, yeah. Well,
Cute.
good do it.
I can't do it. I have to see the dog to do
He's
the
right
voice.
there.
No, he's not.
Come on, don't be shy.
I do have a voice, but I don't have it now.
Oh,
I have to be in
stop
character to do the voice.
Now, is it the voice? There's 2 voices. There's that voice you speak to him. Maybe you get over cutesy, but do you also have a voice as you imagine he would sound? Personified? It's a two-way question.
No, I don't have I did not vocalize Rusty. I don't have a voice for.
But you have a voice, a distinct voice that you use to speak to him.
Yeah, and he's like, Rusty the dog, whatever he said. And I speak in Portuguese with him, in English. I'm like,
Oi, filhinho.
oi, filhinho, cadê meu bebezinho?
Yeah,
Ô, gente.
Are the dogs bilingual? Do they know basic commands in both English and?
He's bilingual. Yeah, he understands. He reads the body.
He gets the inflections. That's what it is.
And I would hear I don't hear his voice like you asked, but I see almost like a person in him. If he was a person, I could kind of see. And he's like a very fresh, naive, beautiful, like almost like a teenager person. I don't know.
Young soul.
Young soul, but he's so sweet.
Awesome. All right. Well, question 5, I simply ask you guys if there's a dog organization or a service that you want to shout out. You mentioned a couple earlier that you got your dogs. I don't know if you want to shout them out, or your sitter, or your groomer, but who gets some spotlight?
Well, for me, everybody that worries about animals in general, shout out to all of you guys, because it's they're naive and they only have us, and we can do a lot for them. But for sure, we adopted those 3 dogs at the Dobie Rescue in Fillmore, which is Dobie Little Paws. Is that what the name?
Yep, that's what I have written down. Dobies and Little Paws
Dobie
Rescue.
Little Paws. Yeah, because I have them here on Instagram, and they're great. Doberman Rusty. Dobie sent Little Paw Rescue. Yeah, we're all blind. Dobie Sand Little Paw Rescue.
Dobie what?
Sand.
Sand.
Yeah, that's what
Dobie's and. Dobie's
Oh,
and.
yeah. Well, that's the Brazilian in me.
Dobie's and.
Dobies and Little
Paws
Paws Rescue.
Spinning.
No wonder why it
Rescue.
never made sense to me.
Yeah.
Dobies and Little Paws Rescue. I'm so sorry, but that's, Brazilian. They do an amazing job. They're not a non-killer shelter. And even if you adopt from them, they even tell you, listen, if something goes wrong and you cannot deal with the dog or whatever, bring them back. Don't let it run loose. Don't,
They are a no-kill shelter.
They are.
Right. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't put the dog.
Yeah. So they're incredible, and they have so many dogs. And Doberman is a breed that it needs a lot of attention. It needs a lot of you need to know what you're doing too, because they
got a lot of energy.
They're smart dogs, as always, a lot of them, but they also can become dangerous. So they are in that list of the dangerous dogs, only because if you don't know what you're doing, all that animal can turn sideways, as we know. But listen, I think a lot of people get them thinking there's something, don't know that it requires work, and they send them back. So they have so many dogs, and they're amazing. They're all beautiful. And I don't know. I feel like it's the best work. Whoever is there out there helping dogs, it's such a hard work, heartbreaking, and they're doing a beautiful job.
Yeah. To your point, you had a quote that says, "Patience and love cures everything."
Yeah.
And that was, you said he showed us that every day. That was Cheech. But to your point about the shelters, or the dogs coming out of the shelters, the Dobermans, because at our shelter, it's so much primarily pits and pit mixes. And it's the same thing. People don't understand, but it's like, educate yourself, give them the patience, give them the space, and give them the love they deserve. And you got a great dog.
Yeah. In the time, you have to spend time. You can't just have the dog waiting for you all day long. Then you put them out every time. Like our dog, Rusty, if we put him out, go run, go burn your energy because we're lazy. That doesn't exist. He stays next to us looking. Are you going or not? So he needs you. Like the dog needs you. A few of them are more independent, but like we have a Doberman and he doesn't just go out there and burn his energy. We have to go with him, even if you're tired. And it's fine, and it's part of it. But he's a great dog, and all dogs need time too. You can just have the dog and whatever. Pretend it's a fish, because they're not.
Well, let's steer the conversation quickly to music before we wrap up. With summer on its way, what are your plans?
But you have a lot of stuff coming.
I have plans. I'm touring in Europe from June. I'll be out there until mid-July, and then I'll be home for a bit, and then I'm going to tour the United States. We're building that for the fall.
Yeah,
awesome.
And same here. Vixen is booking a lot of shows now. Summer is usually a hot time for us. We're going out. We're starting here in California, in Los Angeles, actually Anaheim, June 21st. And then we're going out on the road. And meanwhile, I've been releasing my singles. I have a few singles left that I want to release, and then hopefully the full album solo, and doing some music, right? Keeping ourselves busy. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, Richie, Julia, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling me all about your dogs. When I first approached you, I saw that you had dogs on social media, but I didn't know the extent of it, so I was pleasantly surprised to dive in and go years deep and learn about Cheech and learn about Zeus, and it was a real pleasure, so thank you.
Oh,
thank you. We had a blast talking about the dogs. They are our little babies, part of our lives, big part of it, so it was a blast.
Thank you. Yeah, keep spreading the good word and showing people that dogs are worth their time and effort and money, I guess we should add.
It is.
All right, we'll keep posting a lot of stuff on social. I love seeing it, and thank you again.
We will.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye. Thank you.